Hello, everyone, and welcome to Around the County with Supervisor Jim Desmond. I'm your 5th District North County Supervisor, and I'm going to be talking today with a couple of guests, primarily about homelessness here in San Diego County and in particular North County. But first thing I want to get into, I get asked this many different times. I used to be the mayor of San Marcos, and everybody knew what a mayor was. But a county supervisor is kind of this nebulous position out there that most people are really not familiar with or know what the heck we even do. So there's 5 county supervisors in San Diego County, representing 5 different distinct districts. We're sort of like a city council of a city, to where most city councils have 5 members, one being the mayor, and then the other 4 council members. We have 5 county supervisors. One of us is usually the chair. It's normally rotated through. But the county supervisor, I've asked, what do we supervise? Well, primarily your money. It's about $8 billion of your dollars every year is spent at the county. We've got about 20,000 employees in over 60 different departments, which I'll get into a little bit later. Our primary focus when it comes to dealing with your communities is we manage the unincorporated areas of the county. So an unincorporated area is a community. They aren't cities with their own city councils. The unincorporated areas are communities like Fallbrook, Valley Center, Borrego Springs, in my district, also the Julian, Alpine. Those communities don't have their own city councils or governments or taxing ability. So at the county, we take care of those areas, the unincorporated areas. We take care of the fire, the police, basically the sheriffs, and also all the roads and the infrastructure in those areas of the county. And for the most part, county fire as well, even though there's some other fire districts in North County. But just to give you an idea of what that encompasses, if you live in a city, like San Marcos or Escondido or Vista, Oceanside, your city takes care of your city parks, they take care of your city roads, they take care of your fire department and things like that. But the county has a big overreaching umbrella as well. And I'm just going to go to our organizational chart. And on our organizational chart, you'll find out you're affected by the county in many different ways throughout the day. We have the animal services as part of the pounds and the shelters are part of the county. Child support services. The district attorney's office is under the county. We also have the medical examiner and probation department, the public defender's department, the San Diego County Fire Authority, the sheriff's department is under the county, aging and independent services, senior services, behavioral health services, mental health services as well, housing and community development, public health safety services, agriculture, weights and measures. This is back to the unincorporated areas mostly, but as far as crops and things like that being grown, fertilizers being used and sprayed, we manage and make sure that all of those things are done properly. Also, the library system. If you have a county library branch in your city, and San Marcos, I know, is a county branch there. All the parks and recreations in the unincorporated area. The public works, I already mentioned. The county assessor, recorder, the county clerk. If you ever bought a home or you have to get anything recorded, like your mortgage or deeds and things like that, that's at the county as well. The county council, the grand jury, the registrar of voters is also under the county, as well as every year, twice a year, if you own a home and a property in San Diego County, the county treasurer and tax collector. So that wraps up pretty much what a county supervisor does. Now we're going to get into interviewing some of our guests today on homeless issues here in North County, and we'll be right back.
We're learning today about the Recycle Smart website, greenoceanside.org. It's the place to go to learn how to recycle right in Oceanside.
I'm Lori Summers, Public Sector Manager with Waste Management. If you have a single-use water bottle, it goes in the recycling. Choose reusable or refillable water bottles. Still have questions? We've got you covered.
The city's Green Oceanside campaign is committed to sustainability in partnership with Waste Management.
Hey, hello everyone, and welcome back. We're going to get right into it here today and talking about a subject, that's near and dear to everyone's minds here throughout San Diego County and particularly here in North County as well, and that's on homelessness. So it's an honor to have with me today in the studio is Donnie D. He is the CEO and president of the San Diego Rescue Mission. Donnie's a Kansas City native, and he was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, and he played in the NFL. So, Donnie, let's start here with this, playing with the NFL and doing what you do now with homelessness and the San Diego Rescue Mission. How did that path happen, and what are you doing?
Yeah, well, it was a crazy journey. I spent 27 years with an organization called the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, a national, international ministry, and that group had a big impact on me as a college athlete. And so I started in 1990 just to kind of say thanks. And then 27 years later, decided to leave to do something a little more front lines in my own community. I live in Vista. I'm a North County resident, and I started seeing the homeless here. I always saw the homeless down at the Padres games off of Imperial, but I started seeing groups of homeless tent encampments and shopping carts and people dragging their luggage, and it just bothered me, and I couldn't reconcile that. And so, to make a long story short, I got an email from a friend, had the job description for this position, and she said, "This is you." And I read through the categories, and it seemed pretty challenging, pretty exciting, pretty front line. But then I saw the Rescue Mission logo down at the bottom of the job description, and I was like, no flipping way. I don't know anything about homelessness. But I tell you all that to tell you that it was just kind of a long transition to just figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. And I think the primary reason I left FCA to be a part of Homeless Solutions through the San Diego Rescue Mission is that I've gotten a lot out of Southern California. We've raised our kids here. My son went to USD, my daughter went to UCI. They both went to high school at RBV, and I want to leave this place better than I found it. Wow. And I think that our homeless situation is out of control. It's crisis proportions, and I want to be a part of solving that.
Well, and we appreciate you doing that. And I know San Diego Rescue Mission, you have a facility in Mission Valley, and now you're just going to be opening one up here in Oceanside. So could you tell the folks, because people are frustrated. People are frustrated with government, with me and other entities. It's like, why do we still have this problem? Why is this still going on? And what are we doing about it? So could you tell us
Sure.
the San Diego Rescue Mission's approach to homelessness and what you've been able to accomplish and what you're bringing to North County?
Yeah, our approach in one word is rehabilitation. I think until we begin to address the issues of the heart, we're just moving people around. And I think that's why the situation's gotten worse, and there are more people living on the streets than ever before. Housing first doesn't work. And 100% of the dollars that are spent from HUD, spent from Sacramento, spent from local are used for housing first. And housing first is a prioritization of housing over everything else. And I have to provide shelter, but I can't require you to stop drinking. I can't require you to stop using. I can't require you to get a job. And that's just a bad model. So I think that's one of the reasons why the homeless population has exploded. What we do is we rehab. I have a 100,000 square foot facility in downtown San Diego. 360 beds. They live with us for a year. I commit to a program that involves sobriety, that involves going to class, that involves seeing a case manager, that we put them back together again. We have parenting classes and boundaries classes and anger management classes and Bible classes and computer classes and how to interview for a job and how to dress for success. And all of that happens over trimesters down at the San Diego Rescue Mission. Oceanside came up because we realized after COVID that we couldn't wait for people to get downtown to us. We didn't want to play defense, we wanted to play offense. Being a former athlete, yeah. I got that, and we decided that we were going to open up some remote sites and make them emergency shelters, kind of overnight facilities that we get people off the streets immediately, triage their situation, and figure out where they go next. Now, many of them will end up downtown at our rehab facility, but some may need to go to detox or go to skilled nursing facility. We got to have a place where we figure that out before we wait for them to get downtown and they're ready for a 12-month program. So essentially that's what we do, and I'm super proud of our staff and the many donors that support us. We don't take any government funding, as you know.
Yeah.
You spoke at a lunch for me last month, and we talked about that, and so we have a lot of freedom to do things that work and to drive towards outcomes because we're privately funded.
Well, and it's a good point on the housing first. It's a model that isn't working, and unfortunately, it's the only tool that the federal and state government will allow you to use. Is they put somebody into housing, but they can continue to use drugs and alcohol, right. Which to me is crazy. Right. That's why we're in this churn that we're there. Right. We've been in this churn. We just can't help people get off the streets. And you got a great program, but people can refuse. People can right now, homeless folks can refuse. They can stay on the streets, and we can't do much about it. And I think we really need to change that model. Is if somebody is evaluated that they can't take care of themselves. If they're in such a mental state that they need a mental health state where they need help and they need some sort of rehabilitation, we should be able to get them into those programs, and maybe sometimes involuntarily, because I think it's worse for us as a society to just leave them on the street than to get them into help. And if somebody's been so hooked on drugs that they just don't want any help. I did a podcast just recently with a former homeless person, and they told me they would do anything. They would rob, steal, anything to get drugs, to get their next buzz, to get their next high. And while they were in this fog of drug inducement, they just couldn't think for themselves or take care of themselves. And unfortunately, that's where we are. So the site in Oceanside, it's right by the senior center there in Oceanside, and it used to be an elementary school. So what are you going to do with that site?
Well, it was an old continuation high school, and it sat empty for a number of years. The city of Oceanside bought it, and with the help from the county, as you know, you were a part of that. You provided some funds so that they could renovate that. The city owns it. The city will renovate it, and they'll turn it over to us to run it, and we will pay to operate it. About $1 million a year. That's our commitment to people who are homeless in Oceanside. And it's not a walk-up facility. You can't come there and get a meal or get a shirt or see a doctor. This is a drop-off facility, either through our outreach workers and the shower trailer that has been roaming around North County, providing showers at 10 encampments and riverbeds, or through the HOT team, through the Oceanside Police Department. We will drop people off there because they're saying, I don't want to be on the streets, and I want help. And you'll start at these triage centers that we call navigation centers, and then we'll figure out where you go next. It may be detox. It may be skilled nursing facility. It may be downtown. Eventually, we will open up 2 more, one in National City. We've already bought a property, and we have a conditional use permit. That'll be a 162-bed facility that will operate just like Oceanside, 30-day shelters. And then eventually, we will open a 3rd one in El Cajon, hopefully. We visited with the mayor and their city manager about doing the same thing that Oceanside has done.
But because you have rules set in place, so once somebody comes into the program, they can't use drugs, they can't use alcohol, or until they've been, they got to get detox if they're still hooked on those things. And because you have rules, you aren't getting any state or federal money. That true?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of rules. We have more rules than there are in the Old Testament. I'm just telling you. And you have to. There's 360 people in my building. We got little kids. We got women who are dealing with domestic violence. We got men that are trying to figure out their drug addiction. And so you have to have rules. You're bringing all these people together, living under one roof, having program and classes, and there's got to be rules. And so you have to commit to sobriety. You have to commit to working the program. You have to commit to at least being open to a faith-based program. And you have to commit to getting up every day and working your program and abiding by the rules, or this isn't the place for you.
Yeah.
This isn't the place for you.
Well, and it's a shame that the federal and state government won't give entities like you, and I can't give from the county either, because you're not Housing First. And I think Housing First is a good tool, but it's not the only tool in the toolbox. We got to allow other entities like yourself to get those funding, to get those dollars. Yeah. And I think you're doing a wonderful thing. And there's been a lot of people that people who want help, we've been able to get them help. And the people that, once they come to you, they want to get that help. And I think that's great, and you have that opportunity, and you're doing that here in North County.
Yeah, thanks.
So we're getting end of time. Is there anything else you want people to know about your facility?
Well,
what you're doing.
Yeah, I just think there's lots of opportunities to get involved. We don't hire staff for everything. We had 256 volunteers at the mission last week alone. And so when we launched this NAV Center, which should open on July 17th, will be the very first night that somebody spends the night there. We're going to have opportunities to serve meals, to walk the hallways, to make beds, to mop bathrooms, to come and just befriend somebody that's trying to figure their life out. Lots of opportunities to volunteer. And I would say go to our website, send us your name and your information. When we get ready to start putting that team together, because we're a couple of months away, we'd love to involve you, if you live here in Oceanside or in North County, at trying to solve our city's #1 crisis.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And one of the things that the county, I know, still needs to do is after they go through your program, and where do they go to live? Yeah. If they don't have a job yet, and that's one of the things that the county really needs to focus on. Myself, what I'm trying to do as well for seniors and other people, when they're on the path to getting back on track, they need a place to live and a place to go to. And that's one of the things that we're dealing with at the county. But I just want to thank you, Donna D, for all you're doing for the region, what you're doing for homelessness. I'm glad that, to hear that it's a disciplined approach and getting people the help that they really need.
Thanks for the encouragement. Fun to be here with you.
Thanks for being here today. Appreciate it. All right. We'll be back here in just another couple minutes with another guest from the Oceanside Police Department, and we'll continue this discussion on homelessness.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I am a bully. I didn't even know that I was.
I never meant any harm.
I felt powerful.
I was just teasing her a little. Everyone does it. My friends thought it was awesome.
Así que pensé que era chévere.
It's not cool.
It's just mean.
Would your dog be proud of you for saying what you did?
Just don't let them bully you.
Stand up for yourself. Who are you?
What do you want your legacy to be?
I didn't know I was a bully.
But I am. I am not a bully. Are you?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Around the County with Supervisor Jim Desmond. So we're going to continue our discussion on homelessness, one of the biggest topics here in San Diego County and in North County as well. And I'm really pleased to welcome Officer Josh Ferry from the Oceanside Police Department. He's actually part of the homeless outreach team. So Josh, thanks for being here today. And can you give us a little bit of information of what the homeless team does, what you come across day to day, and how things are going in Oceanside?
Well, I appreciate the invite. Thank you. Our unit began back in 2014. The city recognized the need for an outreach team, something different than we had been approaching our homeless issue. So they decided they would assign 2 officers to kind of figure out how to deal with our homeless issue. So my role is to solve homelessness.
Have you done it yet?
Yeah, you can see I'm almost there.
Yeah, okay.
So we wanted to try to figure out the best way to do that. We did some research, and we looked at other places that had homeless outreach teams, and we did some training with San Diego. We liked their model. They had a non-enforcement unit, essentially, is what the way their team model was, and we kind of adopted that. We're police officers. We still respond to exigent circumstances and things that are emergencies. But by and large, we are a non-enforcement. We work in a non-enforcement capacity.
So what do you mean non-enforcement? You don't write tickets, or what do you? What do you mean?
Not for the most part. We don't.
Okay.
I mean, if we have to make an arrest, we will. But we found that to build rapport with people experiencing homelessness, having a non-enforcement model works best. I'm not concerned with petty crimes. People are, drinking in public, or I'm not researching misdemeanor warrants or anything like that. I want people to want to talk to us. And in talking to us, we are able to hopefully get them connected to a resource. So our role is to do street outreach, to contact people in our city that are experiencing homelessness, and not only educate them, but try to get them connected. We'll try to build rapport so they trust us and understand that our job is to try to get them connected to a resource to end the cycle of homelessness.
Yeah. Well, so how many people are on your team?
Right now we have 3 officers assigned, and we have 2 civilian social workers.
Okay, because I know the social workers, the mayors of North County got together and asked me, and then we were able to provide social workers to the different law enforcement agencies, yourselves, and then the sheriffs in Vista and San Marcos and Escondido, and so. We know we want to get the homeless people into the help they need. A lot of them have mental health issues, or they're drug issues or things like that, and they just don't want help. But I get it. It's many visits with them and trying to get them. Maybe today's the day that they're going to accept help and do that. But I got to tell you, the public, from my perspective, also says, well, why are we not writing them tickets? Why are we not arresting them? Why are we not doing some of these things? And I think the system isn't really there yet, even from our end, as far as even if they do go get help, we don't have enough housing to put them in, or they can't afford affordable housing. So where do they go? And that's one of the things it's on the county and other entities to do that. So what's kind of your frustrations, I guess, in dealing with this issue? Because I appreciate your enthusiasm, but it hasn't been solved yet. And what do you think it's going to take for us to get it solved?
Well, let me backtrack a little bit. To be clear, enforcement is essential in solving a portion of homelessness, for sure. We have to have societal norms and rules. There's a idea, I don't know if it's my idea, but an idea that I realized in working in this capacity, it's a homeless pie graph. And in that pie graph, you have serious mental illness, you have substance use disorder, you have the criminal element, and then you have people that have severe disabilities. And if you eliminate any of those sections, you're going to help diminish the homeless population. The issue is that people experiencing homelessness, oftentimes, all those things might overlap. So, but whatever the priority of that graph is the thing we need to address. So if the reality is that there are criminals that are homeless that prey on and victimize vulnerable homeless people, and that needs to be addressed. With my unit, to say that we're non-enforcement, there is nobody that I've talked to that our enforcement haven't talked to. Our city has kind of a multi-pronged approach. We have crime suppression units that go out and they pretty much address quality of life issues. We have a encampment team, and their specific job is to go into encampments and to do enforcement in those encampment areas. We have our code enforcement, and they go take care of city code issues and help coordinate cleanups with contractors. We have our patrol guys. They're responding to calls for homelessness. And then we have us. And so all of us kind of work together. We attack it from every angle. And there's no one formula that causes anybody's homelessness. And there's not a specific formula that's going to help them get out of it. So trying to address the issue from every angle, I think, is the most effective way. But obviously, we still have a huge issue. A lot of it has to do with, some of it has to do with Prop 47, I think. We have essentially taken a large portion of people and put them into society that don't have resources now. We saw a huge issue a couple of years ago during COVID with a tent city that popped up along Oceanside Boulevard. I think we had about 57 tents. And in that community, we had 3 responses for overdoses in a day. Oh. So it essentially cultivated a safe haven to use drugs. And we had people there that were essentially deteriorating. So some of the issues there, I think, were partially started from some Prop 47 issues, and some of the lack of enforcement that was happening, because during COVID, the jails were kind of shut down, citations weren't getting processed, that kind of thing. So there definitely needs to be an enforcement part of it, but we also have to have a humanitarian part of it as well. Your question was multifaceted.
Yeah,
so I hope I touched on it a little bit.
Well, I appreciate it, but it just seems that the people that refuse help, unfortunately, if somebody has a mental health issue and then they're coping with life with drugs and alcohol, it just exacerbates their problem. And then they don't want, a lot of them refuse help. And I think, we need to get them into the help they need. I'm trying to push for an effort to where, you can't live on the streets anymore. We should no longer make our streets and sidewalks allowable for people to just to live in and defecate in and things like that. I just that's not good for society. So I'm really kind of pushing more of an effort of let's make sure we get them the help they need, and then the housing that they need as well. So I know that you mentioned Prop 47. That was actually voted on by the people of California, and I don't think most of us knew what was really in that, but it allows shoplifting up to like $950 a day, and it also allows it downgraded a lot of felony crimes down to misdemeanor crimes, and then you right now, because of COVID and other things you mentioned, all these misdemeanors are stacking up. I've heard somebody in the city of Vista that has been arrested over 300 times. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of times that somebody has been arrested. But I just think as a society, and I appreciate all you do, in the outreach that you guys
Likewise.
do. Yeah, because you're doing the right things, but we just need to get the kind of this. Anybody that wants help, we've been able to get. Like if it's a family that's a mom and a few kids and they're living in their car or something like that, if they need help, we've got the resources and we're able to get those, get them into a housing or get them into an apartment or pay their last few months' bills or things like that to keep them, get them back off the streets. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a lot of people with mental health issues and drug and alcohol, and that's kind of that needs to be our next focus and help. So I appreciate the fact that you're going. Anything else you want people to know about dealing with this issue or what you're doing?
I do think that there's a lot of misconceptions with homelessness as far as, like you touched on, people that want it. When people are experiencing homelessness and chronic homelessness for a long period of time, they might say that they don't want it. And that's part of...
They don't want help?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of where our team has the leeway to address that. One of our tools is to revisit people that essentially tell us they don't want help. And we've had good success with that. There's kind of a rule of thumb in dealing with addiction, and it takes somebody 7 times, an average of 7 times, before they're successful. The first step might be that they get into detox and then they walk away. And then they might do detox and get into recovery for a period of time, and then they go back. Each time that they engage, statistically, they do better and better and better. So revisiting is huge, but sometimes people with severe mental illness, addiction issues, and everything combined, they essentially don't want to lose control of what they have control of, which is the right here, right now. And then doing something different, engaging in some program where they don't have control, they're fearful of that. So the re-engagement, I think, is a good part of it.
All right.
Some of the obstacles, the things you were asking about being frustrated with, it isn't necessarily my clients, the people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes it's really has to do with the service providers. Like you said, people that kind of have more capacity to get back on their feet, we can find help for them.
Yeah.
But sometimes with some of the programs with service providers, I mean, the moon's got to be blue and the stars got to align, and your birthday's got to be on a certain date in order for you to qualify for a particular program.
Yeah.
So in touching on what you were saying, when we finally get someone to engage and they're finally saying, okay, I trust you, let's try this. And then now the service isn't available because of whatever criteria isn't met. So sometimes that's really frustrating on my end. We can have somebody that needs recovery and we might get a bed in, a week or 2 weeks. Well, sometimes you have that person as that moment of clarity and we need it like now.
Yeah.
So there are some other programs that are able to accommodate that, but it's fewer and far between than I think I would like. So.
Well, I appreciate that, and we appreciate. I mean, you're the boots on the ground. You're the frontline workers, and we really appreciate all the effort that you do. And Josh, thanks for being here today, and it's been great, and I hope to continue this conversation. Hopefully, we can get this homeless issue fixed, and or at least get it down to a much lower numbers. I think the public's ready for it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to take a quick break and come right back. Thanks for being here.
Can't replace wildlife once it's gone. Join our mission to protect their future. Join the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance.
You're watching KOCT Television in Oceanside.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up for Around the County with Supervisor Jim Desmond. I want to thank my guests for being on today, Donnie D. from the San Diego Rescue Mission and Josh Ferry from the Oceanside Police Department. I hope you found this information informative. Anytime you have any questions about any type of government, even if it's not just county, contact my office. We'll put my website information and my phone number up on the screen here, and call me on anything. Even if it's not a county issue, we'll help guide you into the right direction. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day in North County.